Joe Crowley, Chair of the Democratic Caucus, and I'm joined by my colleagues, Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus, Linda Sanchez, and Congressman Ben Ray Lujan, the Chair of the DCCC. We also anticipate at some point, possibly before this press conference ends, that we'll be joined by Leader Pelosi, as you all know, is on the floor right now. She's giving a 1 minute. As well as I know we expect Mr. Hoyer as well as Jim Clyburn, but they are as well on the floor, I'm told, at the moment right now. Welcome to the 2018 Democratic Issues Conference. Our theme is United for a Better Tomorrow. And we're not where we expected to be, quite frankly. We had all hoped to be in Cambridge, Maryland for this conference retreat and issues conference. But we're not wavering in our commitment to advancing positive and progressive agenda that will benefit all Americans. This year's theme reflects who we are, that we are united, and Democrats are united in our own vision for a better tomorrow, for a better America. The American people want to know that what Democrats stand for. They want to know that we stand with them and by them. And during the next few days, we will discuss our vision for the future of our great nation and the policies that will turn our vision into concrete policies to improve life for all Americans. Americans are working harder than ever, but they are not feeling the gains their families desperately need right now. Hardworking individuals continue to struggle to find financial security, while President Trump and the Republican leaders focus their efforts on benefiting special interests and special corporate interests. Democrats are here to propose a better tomorrow. We've already promised a better deal. And Democrats are united in supporting policies and programs that will take us there. And that will put all Americans on the path to financial security. That will enable students to get an education without amassing a lifetime of debt, and prepare American workers to succeed in this new and more modern economy. So I'm ready to get down to work and look forward to being here on campus to do that. And we're all ready to get down to business. And with that, let me turn now to the Vice Chair of the Democratic Caucus, the gentlelady from California, Ms. Linda Sanchez.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you and good afternoon. Clearly, we're a little disappointed that we're not able to hold our issues conference as planned, but we're here moving forward with our agenda as best we can, because when life hands you lemons, you have to make lemonade. We're here today because Republicans, quite frankly, continue to show they cannot lead this country. Instead, we continue to lurch from short-term funding patch to short-term funding patch. And this is not a way to run a government. It's not a way to run anything, quite frankly. Democrats are presenting the American people with a clear contrast to the ineptitude that the Republicans have shown. We're united behind our vision for the future of our country. We are offering a better deal for the United States of America. Better wages, better jobs, and a better future for all workers. Here at our Issues Conference, we're going to continue to refine our plan for 2018 and beyond. I'm looking forward to very productive meetings with our caucus over the next day and a half. We have excellent speakers and experts lined up to give us additional information, and I believe that coming out of this Issues Conference, we will be a better, stronger caucus, and we will have a plan that America truly needs and truly deserves. And with that, I will turn the microphone now to the chairman of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the Honorable Ben Ray Lujan from the great state of New Mexico.
Thank you, Linda. Well, first off, to Chairman Crowley, thank you so much for organizing this important conversation with the members and this important issues conference, to the great work that Congresswoman Linda Sanchez has been doing as our vice chair as well. Look, our colleagues are getting together to have a conversation, and under the unity of our retreat of United for a Better Tomorrow, looking at all of those that are here today, to be able to share with the American people an important conversation that's taking place. We understand that we all have unique experiences and hail from different places. But we also are all experienced with what a better tomorrow can and should be for the American people. Growing up on a small farm in New Mexico, we didn't have much money growing up, but we always had food in the freezer. There were always some crops to be picked and shared with neighbors and friends. Everyone chipped in. Everyone did their part. But the importance of what I learned there was if you worked hard and you played by the rules, you had everything that you needed. And you had a chance to be successful and achieve the American dream. But for that to happen, we must ask if this economy can still deliver on that original American promise. Make no mistake, Democrats have an agenda that is centered on the middle class and is geared towards a better tomorrow for hardworking people across America. This means better jobs through investing in small businesses and more affordable college. This means better wages instead of more handouts to corporate CEOs and lower health care and prescription drug costs. It's a better future by supporting skills and career training and apprenticeships and combating the opioid epidemic with all that we have. And this is not just a Washington-centered message. This is an honest and robust conversation that Democratic candidates are already having across the country. I've been part of those conversations from the Rust Belt to the Sun Belt, from Orange County to the New York suburbs. I can say with confidence that Democrats are winning the debate over key issues facing the American people. The data is clear that the Democratic Party and our candidates are more trusted on health care, fighting for the middle class, and yes, even on important programs that we depend on every day, and on the tax issue. Let me tell you something else about a better tomorrow. We're building the largest House battlefield in history, and that's not rhetoric. Most important, these people who are stepping up to run and fill that battlefield, these are people with records of service to their communities, our country, whether they're women, veterans, job creators, CIA operatives, or healthcare advocates. These are people stepping up to serve again, and they are the Democratic leaders of tomorrow. But here's what tomorrow means to me. For the vast majority of the American people, tomorrow means knowing that healthcare is going to be more affordable and is no longer under constant attack. Tomorrow means real middle-class tax cuts and tax reform that doesn't put the rich and the famous first, but really prioritizes hardworking families like the one that I was raised in. Tomorrow means not piling on the debt for pay for big corporate giveaways and an unnecessary border wall while putting the Medicare and Social Security at risk. Tomorrow means that Congress is seen by the American people as someone that listens to them. And it also means that those in charge have a spine again. The rest of this year, we're fighting for tomorrow. And it's never been more important. Yield back to Mr. Crowley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And with that, we'll take a few questions. Yes.
Mr. Crowley, do you support the Senate budget deal?
I've yet to see the full deal, quite frankly. And what I've said before, and I'll say again, the Republicans control the majority in both the House and the Senate. And if you hadn't noticed lately, they control the presidency as well. They control all facets of government right now. They have the wherewithal with 234 votes to pass this bill if they have a bill that's reflective of their priorities. If they're asking me to vote for it, it needs to be reflective of my priorities as well. And as of yet, I haven't seen the full deal, but they have yet to prove to me that they have all the ideals that I'm concerned about in this deal.
If you like the deal, will you vote for it even if you don't get a promise from Paul Ryan on immigration?
I think the issue of DACA is not just about, and I'm glad you asked in that question about immigration, because I don't think this debate is solely about the DACA recipients. I think there's a broader issue about immigration overall in our country, and it's about the values of our nation. Yes, there is a moral aspect to this, but there's also an economic aspect to the issue of immigration. We as a country continue to grow, and we need more immigrants in our nation. We need a healthy, legal immigration process, which really, quite frankly, is broken right now. But the president, in his negotiations, wants to actually end access to this country through legal programs that exist today. So this is a much bigger, much broader issue. And that's why this is important to me and to an overwhelming majority of the members of our caucus. And yes, this is a moral issue for many of us. It's one of the civil rights issue of our day. And it's an incredibly important issue for all of us. The Senate, they have come to an agreement with the minority that they'll have the opportunity to have a debate on the floor. We have not been given any assurance at all. If history can speak to us at all, when they had a deal in the Senate on a comprehensive bill, it never saw the light of day in the House of Representatives. And we're asking for them to bring a bill. It could be the Queen or King of the Hill. We'd like to see the Hurd Aguilar bill to the floor, and whatever other bill they want to pull on the floor. That's what we're looking for. I don't know if my colleagues want to answer that at all.
So you are holding out for a promise?
I would,
Wait and see what they have to offer us. We haven't heard yet.
yeah. And I would just add with that, that the sole impediment to getting anything done on immigration has been the Republican leadership in the House. We are simply asking for a vote. That's all we've ever asked for. Put the DREAM Act on the floor, put the Aguilar-Hurd bill on the floor, put Goodlatte on the floor, and I can guarantee you that, our values most closely align with the bipartisan bills, not with the forced Republican bills that they're trying to jam down our throat. I cannot reiterate enough that there is support for a DACA Dreamer fix it if the Speaker would merely step up and be the Speaker of the House of Representatives, not just the Speaker of his caucus.
Yes.
Yes, you mentioned middle-class tax cuts, so kind of two-part question. One, are the tax cuts that were passed in December, are they stimulating the economy? And two, if Democrats control Congress, would you want to get rid of the entirety of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act? The Republicans try to get rid of the entirety of.
I guess the question you're asking is if we had a veto-proof majority.
Yeah.
That's a big if, right? It's a heavy lift. We would simply like to bring some balance back to the governance of the United States, and that's why we think it's critical that the American people elect a Democratic House of Representatives. We think the American people understand that the governance of our nation right now is out of whack. It's out of balance. Republicans control everything, and they've given too much authority to this president. The Congress itself has given too much power and authority to this president, and the American people want balance, and that's why I think we'll be successful in the fall elections. And so, in terms of stimulating the economy, well, I don't know. In some respects, I'm told it has, but then we see the effects on the stock market. They're up and they're down. It's the market itself is fluctuating in reaction to that. And what I think what's missing in all this is certainty for American workers. Their tax cuts, they run out after a few years. The tax cuts to the wealthiest corporations in the history of the world continue in perpetuity. That's certainly not necessarily balanced. I wouldn't call that balanced, and certainly something that I think Democrats would like to see addressed.
But just to clarify, you're not saying the party's going to run on, if elected, we're going to try to get rid of the entire tax package. You'll be performing.
Democrats are for creating an economic security for the American people and for the struggling and hardworking people of this country. We're not in favor of putting the country further out of balance. And what you've seen happen here was an opportunity by the Republicans when they controlled the House, the Senate, the presidency. We believe squandered $2.3 trillion when you include the interest in giving the wealthiest 83% and the wealthiest corporations in the history of the world the preponderance of the benefit from the tax bill. And it's been the American worker who gets what's left over. And so that's where we're most concerned about.
If I could add something there, not to get in front of my distinguished colleagues on the Ways and Means Committee at all. But look, the difference between Republicans and Democrats in this space, we saw what Republicans produced. They gave 83% of their tax package away to corporations, the top 1%, and told the other 99% of the country to share the other 13%. Democrats have been very clear here. Middle-class families need to be prioritized, and that's the biggest difference that you would see here. Richie Neal, the distinguished ranking member on the Ways and Means Committee, has talked about the importance of prioritization for pension reform so that families can retire with dignity, and we still see our Republican colleagues play games with that. Democrats have been very clear that middle-class families are our priority. Republicans paid them lip service, and we saw who they put first, and all the way through who was made permanent in this horrible tax package as well. And that's the case that we'll be making to the American people. Not just to vote against them, but a reason to vote for us and the policies that we represent.
Congressman, on the Caucus deal, you basically said you're reserving your judgment till you can see the deal. Certainly want to extract more promises on immigration. But Nancy Pelosi, of course, was on the floor this morning saying that she is against this deal. What is the message that's being sent to your caucus right now? Will you instruct them to hold the line on this?
Well, what I would say, there is more to this deal than the issue of immigration. There is the issue of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, Texas, Florida, and California, and their needs, and as to whether or not this bill, a supplemental, will meet the needs of people who are suffering right now, particularly on the island of Puerto Rico, where about 40% of the population still does not have access to power. There are American citizens who are suffering, and whether or not their government will meet their needs. That's also, so it's very complex. There's much more to this than simply one-off issues. And I have to look at that in totality. In regards to, people in our caucus will do what they think is in the best interest of their constituency and of the country. That's what they're elected to do. And as I said before, I think many, if not all of us, I don't want to speak for every person, look at this as the issue of DACA and immigration and how we treat immigrants in this country as a civil rights issue of our day, right now. And that's how strong this is for all of us in our caucus. Yeah.
On the immigration issue, is the promise that Leader McConnell made, which he fleshed out a little bit more today, a neutral bill, has nothing to do with immigration, open amendments, back and forth? Would that, as an offer from Speaker Ryan, be good enough for House Democrats to say we can work with this?
We just have a bill on the floor, no title, nothing to it, and we don't know even what the direction it would be. I highly doubt that that's something that Speaker Ryan would ever do, first of all. What we're looking for is a commitment that we know that there are upwards of 40-plus individuals on the Republican side who support a bipartisan, comprehensive deal on the issue of DACA. Let that bill come to the floor. It's the Hurd-Aguilar bill. We've also said we'll even entertain the Goodlatte bill. Let it come to the floor. I would never support it, but let it come to the floor. Let the other bills come, and let the queen or the king of the hill, as it say, let that be the determining factor. That's something we've been asking for a long time. What I would point out, simply because Mr. McConnell has made a deal with the minority in the Senate, is not applicable to the House of Representatives. It never has been. It never will be. So we have to work.
I'm saying, would you take it if Speaker Ryan offered you essentially the same deal?
We'd have to look at that. I mean, we have different rules here in the House. The Senate rules are different from the House of Representatives in terms of how bills can be brought up and how they can be amended on the floor. We'd have to take a look at that. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in on that. Yes.
Looking forward to 2018, so much of the energy around the victories the Democrats saw last year was driven in particular by Black women, and there's similar concern that their voices are not going to be heard with some of the attention that's being given to working class voters as Democrats try to win back the former Democrats that ended up voting for Donald Trump in 2016. Can you assure those women in particular who are stepping up and running for office that the Democratic Party has their interests at heart and is paying attention to what their interests are?
I will let my colleagues chime in as well. They've always been our interests at heart. They've never been forgotten. And not just Black women or Black men or Latino men or women, or nor Irish Americans in this country who also struggle every day to make ends meet, or Italian Americans, whatever their ethnicity. We have specifically and consistently said we are for building up all Americans in this country, and a message that we will have that will speak to all Americans and bring them all up. We believe that all boats rise. Right?
Yeah, I would just say that a strong economic plan that creates opportunity for every worker, regardless of race, religion, ethnicity, is a good agenda for America. If we stick to pro-growth policies that help everybody, nobody is left behind. And I would just say we need to harness the excitement that we have in our base. Clearly, there is a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of engagement that we hope will continue into the 2018 midterms. And we have to be a big tent party and reach out to voters that we lost, that are mistrustful. I don't think you have to choose between one or the other. I think that the policies Democrats have always stood for have always stood to benefit everybody. And that's why I think coming out of this issues conference with a refined economic plan, we will have something to show the American people, hey, we've got a better deal for you here, for everybody, regardless of who you are. Everybody will prosper if we are given the opportunity to govern, because clearly in this chaos, there is no leadership and there is no governance.
And what I would say is, look, as we look at the elections from November forward, this last year in 2017, it was incredible to see the organizing and the grassroots initiatives and the leadership that we saw from African American women, especially in Alabama and Virginia. But it turns out in every one of these small special elections across the country, we saw African American women continue to organize their communities, and we have a lot to learn from them. I think that we also have to make sure that we're listening to them. What I've heard when I've sat down and visited with families as I've traveled the country, and especially many of the organizers that were successful in every one of these communities, they've talked to me about the well-being of their children, the well-being of their neighborhoods, the concern that we have with an opioid epidemic that is not just new in many of our communities. This is something that's been plaguing so many of our families for too long. And a lot of those families were ignored and not heard. They want to be heard. They also have ideas on how to solve big problems. And so when we talk about not only economic policies that we all share, but also access to the ballot box to make sure people are to be treated with respect and dignity, that's what this is all about. And so absolutely, not only will we be reaching out and learning from organizers, especially African American women, we're going to make sure that we're working with them, that we're partnering with them, that we're out and knocking doors together. So whether we're knocking on the front door or we're knocking on a door on social media, we have to get this done together. And we will continue to see the strength of the organizing of these grassroots organizations that will really make a difference come 2018.
Thank you all very much. Look forward to talking to you later.